What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Plastic Underground. I got a fun, quick little build video for you guys this week. I made the intercom from Fallout 3 and Fallout Vegas, that style. Not 100% sure if it's in for this exact style, but yeah, it was pretty fun. This is all foam, and I just used some double-sided tape to stick it up here on the wall. I don't know where I want it to go permanently, but for now it's right here. So let me show you how I made it.
Train to the Plastic Underground. Approaching station. Please stand away from the platform edge.
Alright, so this is a template that I hand drew. I just took a couple of screenshots in game and used it as a reference image. I didn't want this thing to be like too big, so the scale is kind of just made up. I kind of based it on like how big the button on the bottom is. That's I presume that's like the button you push to talk. Kind of based on like my thumb size, and went from there. So yeah, I'm using some floor mat foam for the base, and also cutting a little chunk out the same size as that button. Then switching over to some 2mm foam. This is that Silly Winks brand I get at Harbor Freight. It's pretty cheap. They have it in all sorts of colors, but I got teal this time. It's always fun getting like bright color foam when you're building, and then you can see like the contrast between each layer. Going back to the floor mat foam, I traced this spool of electrical wire. Happened to be the same diameter of the speaker port. I cut that out, then I marked the center, and then I just used my bigger knife now to go around and cut the edge off. It's easier to do this step and then sand it later instead of just sanding all of this foam off. You can kind of cut and shape it with your knife first, get rid of that material, and then sand the rest of it smooth. Then I can cut the middle out. And then this will become the actual speaker port. I just cut little, like maybe a couple centimeters off the back of it so that it sits back inside the same hole, but recessed in a little bit. Now we'll move on to the, I guess the fin of the body, like the body fin. This is the part that goes all the way around the speaker. It's like the trim, I guess, is a good word for it. So I just made this pattern out of paper first, and now I'm transferring it over to some foam. The foam's not long enough, so I had to cut it out in two sections and then glue it together. This is just a thin piece of 2mm that I'm cutting. This will become the trim around the speaker part. So first thing I do is I just kind of sand these corners, just to round these corners off so they're not super square. That's kind of tedious when you're doing such a small piece of 2mm foam like that. It's hard to hold it and sand it. But yeah, then I'm just going around and I'm just sanding everything smooth. I did the corners on the main speaker, the main box, and then now I'm doing I guess the speaker. This is the part that you talk into. Just rounding out corners, making sure nothing is sharp. Then I glue these two pieces together here. Then I'm going to start gluing everything in place. I'm using contact cement. You can see it, that can up in the top right corner. It's Weldwood brand, not the water-based stuff. The water-based stuff, it does not work. It comes, I think the label's green. So if you see that one, avoid it for this type of stuff. I know a lot of people use Barge. It's not available where I live, and I can just buy this brand right at Lowe's or Ace or Home Depot. So I think Walmart carries it too. It's it's readily available. It's not super expensive. It is. Everything has gone up, but it can last me a pretty long time. So I'm just gluing everything on. I'm going around now with my trim. I pre-marked this with my template. I cut these parts off the paper template and marked them in pen on the foam, just so I knew everything needed to be. I'm also kind of like stretching this 2mm trim like while I'm gluing it, just to make sure I have enough. I wasn't sure if this was going to be long enough, so I just kind of stretched it as I was gluing it, and yeah, I had ended up having more than enough. I just trimmed a little bit. I'm just gluing the button on top of the panel that it sits on, and now I can go around and do this main trim. So I just kind of line up the place where I glued it. I knew where that needed to be, so I lined that up first. This is contact cement again, but I'm using the flatness of the table to rest both of the foam on, so that I get a pretty even glue to the edge. Kind of tack it in place first, and now I can go around and kind of really push it, make sure everything is secured. Now again, using the paper template, I'm using a pen to stab in all of the holes for the speaker. Then I'm using this little stone bit on my Dremel to go through and punch all of these holes in. There are a lot of these holes, and then I do the same thing on the speaker where you talk into. There are less holes on that. Now, when it comes to painting, 3 coats of Plasti Dip is my base, and then I sprayed it with a silver aerosol can. Looks pretty good, looks pretty shiny. I found these screws, and now I'm just using these sharp tweezers just to punch some holes in. It's a lot easier to punch a hole in the foam first, and then to stick the screw into the hole after, and I just tack it with a little bit of super glue on the threads. It's probably overkill, honestly. They're not going to come out of the foam, and then you kind of take the risk of getting glue where you don't want it. So yeah, you don't really need. You really don't need to glue these, but I did. So there. I use flathead screws. That's more on theme for like the 50s look. I mixed up some brown and green to get this like army tan color. And then I paint the switch that color. After weathering and everything, you really don't even tell that this is like a separate color. But I know it's a separate color, so that's all that counts. And now you know it too. This speaker part gets painted black. The inside and the outside bevel. Put a couple coats of black on that. Here's a little side project I'm working on, also Fallout themed. This is a little cover I printed, a little Pip-Boy cover for my Samsung watch. Obviously I have the Pip-Boy screen on my watch, because why wouldn't I? But yeah, it was a little fun side project I thought I'd show you that I'm working on. I'm sanding it and making sure it fit, and while I was waiting for paint to dry. So yeah, there you go. I always have a few things going on, and sometimes I'm working on a few things while I'm filming a video. So I thought that would be fun to show you a little bit of background stuff, you know. So this is just some weathering. This is just some black and brown mixed up with some water. Then I just paint this on the entire piece. Then I take my rag and I just kind of blot everywhere, trying to get the high spots here and there. I leave a lot of paint in the recesses, the corners, that kind of stuff. And then I go through with a smaller brush just kind of outlining corners and places where I think like water would drip or rust would gather. This is kind of like the dark base coat for rust and that kind of stuff. When I paint rust, this is how I usually do it. I'll usually start dark and then work my way towards a brighter orange, which you'll see here in a minute. Yeah, then I also focus on the corners here. I just thought that would look good. Like the corners have been rusted. They're like the weak points. And it's also, I try to also picture like where like water and moisture would build up and settle. this is a step that is like super easy to like overdo. And I have a tendency probably of like overdoing it. But I think this looks good. It's probably a little too weathered, a little too rusty, but I like it. At the end of the day, I think it looks good. I like stuff rusty and corroded anyway, so. But yeah, so I got that bright orange, mixing it with the dark color first, just to give it like a medium dark orange base, and then I'll go through and do some drips and that kind of stuff, and then after that I will just touch a couple spots with the bright orange. Yeah, and then just using a Q-tip with a little bit of water on it, just going around and removing some of the paint on the corners of the black, trying to get rid of the black paint, just to have that silver peak back through, look like it's faded and chipped. I use like my finger on the switch in the middle where it would like naturally wear, just to kind of rub off that paint and have the silver shine back through. And that is it. That's how I made the intercom from Fallout. I hope you guys liked it, and I'll see you next week when we make something cool.